If you're enjoying the show, please remember to like and subscribe. Now, it's time for some Unwanted Opinions.
Encounter.
I've got another feeling.
It feels very
Hello and welcome to the Unwanted Opinion podcast, the show in which me and my friends give our unwanted opinion on all things film. My name is Lewis and I'm joined today with Kyle.
Hello, good evening. Oh, not good evening. Well, depends.
Oh, that seemed
depends.
delicious. Oh,
Yeah.
depends when you listen to it. And Gonthalo as well.
Hi. Nice to see you guys.
Hello, how are you guys doing? What have you been up to?
He didn't say hey, and I'm quite upset
I got
about that.
a bit. Oh, wait. Hey. I got a bit set off track by your comments about the evening. I got a bit lost.
It's really dark and depressing. I was like, oh, good evening. I'm not going to tell the listeners when they have to listen to this. That's just rude of me.
When do you guys listen to podcasts, by the way?
Before we start, Gonthalo, I'm going to do a weekly check-in on you.
Oh.
We should have done this about 6 months
Is
ago.
this the Oppenheimer check?
Because,
Oh,
yes,
no.
the Oppenheimer thing, because
Oh, no.
Gonthalo, I rewatched Oppenheimer in cinemas
Oh, no.
just the last weekend, so
Oh, no.
I'm wondering,
Oh no.
have you watched it yet?
So I had work this weekend, and
Right.
I didn't even check to see if it was on Netflix.
Nice. Well, our Oscar episode is coming up in a couple of weeks, so
He's
when
not
the
gonna,
time
he's not
comes,
going to see it.
and
You have to just.
you
acknowledge
have 2
this.
weeks. You have 2 weeks.
Maybe.
Wait,
Otherwise,
no,
I'm going to
I-
think
No,
it's a
but, like,
forfeit.
Could
Don't
we
put
make
his
him a
hopes
deal
down
with him?
because then
No,
it's
but
not. It's yeah.
Could we give a Gonthalo a deal? Like, instead of like Oppenheimer, he has to watch like May December and like other films. Like, give him like.
No, it has to be. It has
All
to
of
be
them
punishment.
except-
May December's a good film,
Yeah.
so
Is Oppenheimer
he has
a
to
bad
watch
film?
What are we gonna
one of the
do?
films
what
we're
you're
going to talk
saying?
about today. How about that?
Oh,
I
no,
mean, just
no,
all
no,
the
no.
films we're going to talk about today. Like,
No,
not
no,
all,
no.
no, not all, not all, not all.
No.
But speaking of the worst films of the last year,
Yes.
that's what we're talking about today.
Yes.
Because last week we did the best films of 2023, it's time to talk about what we considered the absolute bottom of the barrel
Little
stuff.
asterisk there in the corner that we actually watched. So.
Well, that's more about you than us. Then.
Well,
Val's worst is
not
actually
like-
also his best because he only has 4 films.
I mean,
on the list. Like,
yeah, it just manages to get on the top 5. Just
Yeah.
for. No, but yeah, like
So-
we didn't watch
yeah.
all the shitty like direct to Netflix kind of movies or all the
Okay,
Hallmark
well, yeah,
specials
straight
and stuff.
to DVD.
You know, like
Well,
yeah.
that Hallmark doesn't count anyway.
They're technically
so-
films, you know. They're eligible for the Oscars.
No, they're not. They are
I
not.
don't believe that's accurate. I don't think that's true.
That's not accurate.
Imagine if
Anyway,
actually...
we will be giving
Oh, that would be great.
we will be giving our opinion on what we think the worst films of the year were. Plus, we have reviews, a full packed episode. We've got 3 reviews for you. We've got the new latest romcom starring Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell, Anyone But You. The latest Studio Ghibli film, The Boy and the Heron, which only recently came out here in the UK, and Poor Things, the latest Emma Stone feature, which is getting a bunch of awards buzz. So that will all be on today's episode. But let's jump right into it. So, Gonthalo, I'm going to start with you again, like I did last week.
Damn it. You guys are going to hear about
Do you have any dishonorable mentions, or did you watch just good stuff
I
and then
guess,
the one film
I
you're going to
guess
talk about?
so. No, I did attend the premiere of a movie I worked in that I did not like in the slightest, but I don't know if I should mention
I don't.
because,
I think legality reasons. I think you
It's
should
probably not
avoid
good for my
saying
career in general.
something that
so
you worked
I'm
on
gonna
is
avoid.
awful.
Yeah, given that I've worked on 2 movies this year, by not saying which, that's fine. I can save my career. But thankfully I managed to avoid a lot of the schlock this year by not watching movies. It was great. I also avoided a lot of great movies like Oppenheimer. I've heard it's okay. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. And
Very funny.
But yeah, no, my biggest dishonorable mention is the one I'm just straight up going to talk about. Gran Turismo, based on a true story.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm legally
He said it.
obliged to say the
He
subtitle.
has to say it. He always has to say it. Yeah.
This movie
Is this literally the title of the film? For
It
some
is,
reason?
for some reason. This movie was garbage. This movie was bad. This movie was beyond bad. I've seen Hallmark movies that are more competent at filmmaking than this film.
Wow.
I did not like this movie. I
Do you
don't
want to give
remember
us a
what
simple
score I gave it.
story? Do you want to give us like an
I
idea on what
would.
the
Can you
story
remember
I
the
would.
story?
There's not really a simple story to this movie because it refuses to tell a coherent narrative. But the trailer seems to believe that it's the story of a kid from a working class family that is very good at the Gran Turismo video game and ends up becoming a professional driver thanks to the a big thing that they're doing to hype up some cars.
A big thing.
Yeah, like an
Nice.
ad agency thing that they decide to do. And he ends up driving. He ends up killing a man. That actually did happen. That's really fucked up. And
Jesus.
and yeah.
Does the film have the
movie.
gravitas to support such a heavy?
It's really
heavy,
not.
bit of subject matter.
It's really
No,
not.
okay.
This is a film that makes you like. They begin with basically just an ad for PS4. And then it continues by making you believe that the guy who runs the the ad manager guy, is going to be like an important protagonistic character played by Orlando Bloom. It's there sometimes, but like the way he's introduced makes you think that he's going to be important. It's really funny. It's really bad. It's someone watched a lot of movies and then created like a very corporate kind of environment where they distilled the most basic ideas that movies show sometimes and put it together in the shape of a film. It's horrendous. It's honestly a work of art in it of itself, of how dead, lifeless, and like absolutely cynical this movie can be. It's really, really bad. Like, again, I've seen better direct to DVD films than this one with more coherent storytelling and better characters, and I had a little more fun time with those.
I remember you've got one of my favourite quotes of any review last year when you did this film. Yeah. When you said, it's a film that just forgets scenes exist.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to clarify what the meaning of that is?
So it feels like instead of a script, they were working off of a list of things that needed to happen. And so
like
characters just move. Yeah, characters just move from one scene to the next. They straight up like take an entire monologue from one of my favorite racing films and like pluck it wholesale and put it in this movie.
Wait, pause. Just before you go on, I just want to ask. I'm going to regret asking.
Yeah, it's Speed Racer. Yes, it's Speed Racer. Of course, it's Speed Racer.
We got 2 episodes into 2024, and he's mentioned Speed Racer.
Of course, yeah. It's one of my favorite racing films. The other one's got to be Le Mans '66. Oh, gorgeous. This is completely different. I just wanted to mention that, just in case for our new listeners.
Me emotionally, that those two films are using the same fucking sentence. Yeah,
they are fantastic. Anyways,
and he didn't even mention Ron Howard's Rush either. He was just like Speed Racer.
I haven't seen Rush yet. I haven't seen Rush yet. I need to catch Rush at some point. But yeah, anyways, it's this weird thing that they do where like it feels like whoever wrote this knew what a movie was. But like because maybe they caught one out of the corner of their eye sometimes when walking, and they were like, "Oh, emotional scenes are a thing where they confront each other about something." But they kind of forget to actually write characters with motivations and drives or flaws or anything. And they also have like a training montage right at the start of the movie that is like honestly one of the worst training montages I've ever seen in my life. Like I've seen parody movies, parody training montages do a better job at training montages. Like Naked Gun does a better job at montage than this movie. It's absolutely horrific. Honestly, if you want to like just be perplexed for a while and try to understand how someone could make this and be like, yeah, no, this is gonna be a good movie.
I want to fill in some information here, Paolo. So obviously, I'm looking at the screenwriters and the people who did the story and the screenplay for it. So we had somebody that was a writer and screenplay on American Sniper. We had somebody that did the screenplay for Creed 3 and King Richard.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And then somebody that worked on the screenplay
of
Watchmen.
The coffee? Were
So
they bringing the coffee or?
yeah,
Did they actually write
I really
anything?
don't know. It's weird because the director is Neil.
Yeah.
Like
Neil
I love
Blomkamp, yeah.
District 9, Elysium, Chappie. You know, three kind of something.
Yeah.
At least those three films did something.
They did.
From what you're
and
saying.
Elysium was trope filled and whatever, but like it was still a cohesive narrative and a cohesive story. This, I don't know if any of those people were actually involved in the making of this movie. It feels like it was like a board of directors at Sony producing that just like they were like, hey, let's do an ad and let's make it a movie, and then they hired some people to follow their instructions because honestly, it's.
No, I didn't realize it's the boy from Midsommar, the boy that plays Farley. No, not Midsommar. Saltburn.
Saltburn.
Farley, who's the
he's the
elite.
big guy.
Very talented actors do absolutely shit for this movie. Yeah, again, like it is for me, it is entirely seems to be an issue with the actual intention behind the film. It very much like the story is trying to tell, because it's trying to tell a story about a guy who wanted to advertise a bunch of products together. This feels like that's how this movie even got made. And that was the intention behind the movie.
And they just showed you in the film.
Yeah, and they just did the same thing that they tried to do in real life, but in the film. And it's honestly awful. I'm surprised that it didn't get a worse score than the things I've seen in IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised when we get to some of our films. I'll be mentioning that as well, because the review, the Metacritic scores in its like high 40s.
Yeah,
not on the red.
I saw a 60% and 70% at some point, and I do not understand.
Don't understand why.
I honestly think one of the most incompetent films ever. I did very much appreciate, though. It turns out this is a thing they do in Portuguese cinemas, because I watched this in Portugal. They had a break in the middle of the film where the screen just went black and you had like 5 minutes to go pee. That was great. I needed that break. I really needed that break.
I'm proud you went back. I'm going to say
the reason you saw it in Portugal.
Yeah.
The reason you saw it in Portugal is because that moment was meant to happen where it went black and you were meant to go, right, I'm leaving.
I'm leaving, yeah.
And,
I should have.
You didn't follow the universe.
I should have left, honestly. I think the universe might have been telling me something. But yeah, that's my most, not only worst like film, but like worst film watching experience and worst experience of the year, honestly. Just...
Well, you must have had a pretty good year.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's
well,
my
very
take.
good. Right, Kyle. Let's jump into some of your honourable or dishonourable mentions, I should say, for your worst films of the year.
So, dishonourable mentions for me will probably be Netflix Extraction 2, the Chris Hemsworth worm.
I was more forgiving of this than you.
Yeah, I just did
when
not
we reviewed it. I remember.
Yeah, I think you get it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And
no, Kyle, you're absolutely right about Extraction 2. It is incredibly boring when the action isn't happening.
But I enjoyed the action. That was my main issue. Is like I can't accept a film that has good action, but then it's stitched together. Like you need to have a good story. You need to have good characters. You look at fantastic examples of Mission Impossible and John Wick. But anyway,
I was going to say John Wick. Yeah,
and then
like
the other
fantastic action with
the other dishonorable mention for me will be The Whale, mainly because that was one that was hyped up, and I much love to Brendan Fraser, but putting on a fat suit and crying, I don't really class as acting, or especially award-winning level of acting. But that was just a film that I think me and Lewis saw almost at the exact same time, but in different theaters,
different cinemas.
It just came out, and
I remember. The Whale for me was also very low scoring. I think I gave it a 4 out of 10. I found it very dull. I also found its treatment of someone with an eating disorder. I found some of it kind of offensive, actually. And also, like you mentioned with the fat suit thing as well, just makes it kind of worse.
So, Lewis, I'm going to let you choose which of the films I'm going to leave the worst to last, because I think we could do a joint one on that. I'll take one of the 3 superhero films, and you can just give me it. You just say which one you want me to do, and I will do it.
Oh man.
Okay. You do Ant-Man. Do Ant-Man.
Oh, fantastic. So Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the greatest sounding ride, as Lewis said. I will never get over when that title got announced and Lewis messaged me going, "It sounds like a fucking ride at Disneyland." And
yeah, why is that the title of a fucking film? Ridiculous.
Yeah, and boy, this was a ride of depression and how not to make a film. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is basically, it's post-Endgame. Ant-Man's kind of like saved the world. He's like, I wrote a book. And Cassie Lang is post-timeline, post-time-skip a bit older.
Recasted for the third time for some reason.
Recasted for the third time, you are right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of taken on, and they go into the quantum realm, and Kang's there. Kang the Conqueror, played by somebody. And...
Yes.
Somebody. Fuck yeah.
Sorry about that. But anyway, so what we get, right, is you get the most bottled film I've ever seen. In the sense that No Way Home was shot on a studio lot. This was worse. Like, there is maybe a handful of scenes that are not green screen, which is genuinely something that I was really sad about, and it was something that you really don't want to see in modern cinema.
Especially with the budget that Marvel has,
let's
constructing
not
sets.
even mention the word with Disney and budgets, because Lewis will spend an hour on his theories of corporate.
It's all they are funding something. That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, what we basically get with this film, right, is I think the biggest criminal thing of this film. No, sorry, second biggest criminal thing of this film is that
Some people are not gonna get these jokes, and we're not gonna.
That's bad.
Them.
Right.
Is the fact that you take a character like Ant-Man and then you put him in an environment where his size is not actually quantifiable.
It doesn't matter.
Right? It doesn't matter. You're meant to be in this tiny,
kind of interesting,
microscopic world, and he gets small, and you're like, this doesn't really mean anything because you don't get the cool.
He's just man here. He's literally just man.
Didn't this really make you appreciate Ant-Man 2 and the fact that they played with size?
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more I go, my God, that first Ant-Man film was lucky to be good. And the other two are just skimming off of it. Because you don't get any cool, he's in a bathtub, he's doing that amazing train fighting sequence.
Yeah.
You get this really shitty film, and you're just like, anything you're doing, he's either yelling Cassie or running away from a green screen on a treadmill. That's it. And good God, it has one of the most annoying cinema tropes ever, where you have a character that goes, I can't explain what's happening. We don't have the time. Yeah. Which is Michelle.
It genuinely makes no sense.
Michelle Pfeiffer's character, who is the original Wasp, was stuck in the quantum well, and apparently she knew everything was happening with Kang and
she had no time to explain.
Who's in it for 2 seconds? What was his name?
She had an appointment at 5 and she had to run.
And it's just any 2 seconds. It's like, what's happening? I don't have time. We can't explain. Yes, you do. Nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Literally nothing's happening.
The best thing about that is, so you have Michelle Pfeiffer saying, I don't have time to explain, and then it cuts to a cutaway because Paul Rudd and his daughter separated from Evangeline Lilly's character, Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas, right?
The Pym family.
It cuts to then Cassie and Ant-Man are on their own thing, and then it cuts back to Michelle Pfeiffer and the rest of the team, and it's like, right, we're in a new location, so they've just walked for an hour. And they must have talked about something, but for some reason there was no time to tell.
They could have done one of those tropes where it's like, let me explain, and then you cut away.
That would have been funny,
and that would have made way more sense.
And we just get this really kind of distorted film and really kind of honestly mediocre. Shit acting. And MODOK, which is possibly one of the most disgusting looking CGI creatures I've ever seen, and they had to make that bloody CGI department animate that wee man's ass. Yeah, there's a scene where his ass is showing.
on a really tight budget, making them overwork and be underpaid.
All that, that's also valid.
Ass.
And
I'm just saying that makes it worse.
you get this film which is meant to be the start of Phase 5, and to be perfectly honest, the phases don't make a shit anymore. With Marvel.
No, it doesn't
just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
And we were meant to set up Kang as this really strong villain, and spoilers for the film, Kang dies in it. Jonathan Majors gets beat up by Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Creed
Ridiculous.
3 was also coming out at the same time as this, by the way.
The trailer when the trailers were in the cinema, and you see Jonathan Majors, he was fucking huge and jacked and boxing, and then I know obviously different film, different characters, whatever, but I'm just like, Paul Rudd would be dead after one hook from that man. Like, come on.
And you get an end credit scene which basically shows all the Kangs and all this, and you're like, great. And then other stuff happened, and you're like, well, this film is really pointless. And just
that's the thing that really baffles me. I think, okay, it's fucking terrible. It's boring. It's lifeless. It's saying absolutely nothing. It's ugly. All that. It's not funny. The action is just visual, just
noise,
vomit on the screen. But that's the thing that also just like really just puts the cherry on top of the cake, when it's just simple storytelling. Just like throwing that out the window of going, imagine having Thanos getting beat up in Guardians of the Galaxy by Peter Quill. It'd be that equivalent, because it's just regular human beats your meant to be huge threat of this multiverse saga that's going to
standard way
go
to
to Secret
do
Wars
it
and whatever else.
Heroes try to beat this guy, they win by the slimmest of the teeth, and then you find out that guy was the lackey of the main guy who's coming next.
Like,
that's how you set up
I don't
the
know
big
if
guy
the
who's
original
coming
thing
next,
was meant to be that this wasn't the kind of Conqueror variant that they were
No,
going to fight.
I don't.
Yeah.
The thing is, there were so many rewrites, because originally the Marvels was going to come out first, but then they completely reshaped that whole thing and postponed it, and they rushed production in Quantum Mania, from what I understand. So like they had to be like a lot of rewrites and a lot of stuff and things, and this movie was clearly rushed.
It is just honestly dog shit. That's the best way to describe it.
It's kind of funny on a year where we got fucking Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
It's seeing these underground world, or like these kind of worlds where it should be a wee bit more kind of weird and bizarre. You just get the most kind of dull looking back shots of just like gloop floating. Every back shot looks like a lava lamp. That's probably the best description.
Again, we got Guardians 3, a film where they have a heist on a planet that's made of like overgrown organs, where the guards look like friggin' space bears. Like,
and then that's
like,
better.
It's not that they lack the creative teams to make this happen.
Oh no,
it's that they lack
Guardians
the
has
interest
practical
in
shots.
actually
It's
making
beautiful,
it
but
happen.
Ant-Man, Quantum Mania.
Yeah.
I'm really upset because I quite liked the first Ant-Man. I was like, oh, Ant-Man 2, a bit of a bump. Ant-Man 3, I'm like, holy shit! Like,
I'll never watch that again. Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Well, okay, I guess I'll do some dishonorable mentions. The Whale was one of my dishonorable mentions as well, Kyle. I want to mention Cocaine Bear. Massive disappointment. I found it really boring.
Especially for Yoda's.
I can't believe... It so frustrated me, because obviously the trailer came out and it all online was like, oh my god, that's such a ridiculous title. It's going to be like B-movie trash. It's going to be so funny. And it's not. It's not. It's just kind of guys wandering around the woods for a bit, and then occasionally a bear shows up. And I didn't find it funny. For some reason, my family all really liked it. And I'm just like, at Christmas I was like an alien in the house. I was like, how did you guys find it funny? Like,
did you watch that over
They
Christmas?
watched the trailer.
No. They watched. They also went to cinemas to see it, and they're like when it came out at the time. And I was like,
I love how in Noah's household, like when the family night is just sitting down, opening the prized possession, which is a Blu-ray copy of Cocaine Bear, and going, right, let's do it.
Oh man,
there is like one good scene with the whole ambulance and some of the park rangers. That stuff's funny, but overall just really, really dull. Also, my other dishonorable mentions are Fast 10 or Fast X.
Oh shit, yeah, that happened.
Just visual garbage on screen. Everyone, I've said this a million times, everyone feels like it's all a joke now. And like I said, this the problem with it is that all the actors are bored and lazy of it, and they now are caught onto the joke of it all. So now they're sort of playing it for laughs.
Except
when the
Vin
point
Diesel.
of what made it fun, except Vin Diesel, who but now he is also
good news and bad
problems
news.
Talking about him
good
now.
News. No more Fast and Furious. Probably
you're gonna see a weird pattern with the worst films of the year. By the way, there's a suspicious pattern with them.
A lot of abuse.
Yeah, it's almost like
allegedly.
Yeah. Anyway, with the Fast 10 thing, it was that everyone now knew it was a joke, and they're playing it for the joke, and at that point it's just not funny anymore. So The only person who was actually treating it like it used to be was Vin Diesel, who treats it like a serious drama, which makes his scenes more fun to watch. Anyway, Fast 10, absolute garbage. We probably won't get Fast 11 now if the accusations on Vin Diesel turn out to be true. Scream 6, wow. Wow, so
you guys
just
loved this one. I
so
remember the episode.
monotonous, so not scary. I think the well has been drunk dry. There's no more commentary left to say. I mean, it was really kind of pushing at Scream 5. Now, they generally had nothing more, not really any commentary to say on this one about horror franchises or cinema.
But, like, that's the thing. There's so much to say it's still about horror movies. Like, they just run out of ideas. But,
it's annoying because the trailer or the first kind of snippets that you see when it's on, like, this crowded New York subway, you're like, ooh.
The subway ones,
and what annoyed me especially is the first 5 minutes of that film sets up a really interesting... I thought it was going to be a completely different twist on it. Where we knew who the slasher was from the beginning. And I was like, ooh, controversial, twisty. I like it. And then
shift kind of thing.
And then it like went into the most garbage, like classic reveal of, oh, it's an extended family. But good news is we're probably not going to get a 7th one.
No, we definitely are not going to get Scream 7 after the directors and cast have basically abandoned the project. But with also just to stay on Scream 6 for a second, it's just like there's no suspense in it. Everyone can be stabbed multiple times and be absolutely fine. Everyone's like superhuman in it. It's just there's no tension, there's no threat. It's so just done.
No
Scream at this point.
Consistency. So annoying.
So I guess we'll just get to one of the other superhero films that we're going to talk about here. And I want to do the Flash. I think the Flash. Yeah, I think the Flash for me is the worst of the superhero offerings of 2023.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is one. Well, I guess the basic story is you have Barry. The Flash is, he's missing his mother, and obviously she died when he was a kid, and he wants to go back in time and reverse it and change it. And of course, that then causes problems with the timeline and the multiverse and so on.
Basic Flash.
The Flash, though, really, really terrible adaptation of Flashpoint. It's absolutely hideous. It takes the prize for the worst-looking film of the year.
Wow.
Genuinely, it's just an unfinished film. Even if it was finished, I don't actually think a bunch of the set pieces were the locations were interesting. Their ideas behind them were interesting.
Yeah, another one.
Just remembered.
Which I thought was kind of there is something so wasted about the Flash as well. Like, say you will about the DCEU, right? A lot of it is garbage, to be fair, right?
Yeah, but a lot of people care about it. You could have ended it with a bang.
A lot of people care about it, and there's absolutely a bunch of gems in the offerings Warner Brother have given for the past 10 years. But what I thought would be interesting, and what I got from the first trailer of The Flash, is that it kind of would do something No Way Home didn't do. In the sense that No Way Home, of course, brought the Spider-Man from other universes in, but their style wasn't there. Their own uniqueness wasn't really there. There wasn't, like, it wasn't shot like, the Raimi films or like really... that kind of like cool slow stuff that Mark Webb did.
It had the opportunity to be like a love letter to the MCU. Like not only the MCU.
Were you hoping to get some Tim Burton-ness?
Yes, I was expecting this to be an absolutely bonkers where you have all these different styles and all these different art styles and Tim Burton's Tim Burton's Gotham in there, maybe Adam West's Gotham in there. Yeah. Fuck it, throw in the animated series, just bonkers shit like that.
Even the Flash
this
show,
multiverse thing.
Even the Flash show did like stylistic changes when they would go to parallel universes.
And I was like, well,
then they have like no budget.
That will be very interesting to see. But no, you don't get any of that. Sure, you get the Batwing, but then it's we shoot it in the goddamn tundra and then we shoot another action scene in the fucking blue sky desert. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. You don't even use Metropolis. You don't even use Gotham. It's stupid decisions like that. Also, Ezra Miller is frankly just really fucking annoying in the entire film.
And he's in it twice.
Whole multiverse.
Yeah.
And he's in it twice.
There's two of them.
It's just quite insufferable. Completely. I mean, I can't believe you waste Michael Keaton like that. That is a crime in itself. Like, Jesus. It wasn't even exciting to see him. It was just...
They revived a dead
really...
person for this movie. It's just...
Oh, we'll get to that in a second. And that goddamn ridiculously stupid plot point where it's like, why aren't you Batman anymore? There's no crime left in the city. What the fuck are you talking about? There's no crime left in Gotham. That is so dumb. Sorry. That whole plot point, stupid as hell. The completely wasted Supergirl, who I actually did like. I thought she was interesting.
Again, another issue with the MCU. They do good castings and then put these poor people in terrible movies.
Yeah, it's a shame, and she's not coming back, which has been kind of...
No. Sasha Cali played her, Really, really just absolute waste. And then, of course, we will get to the whole multiverse thing. The Speed Force 1, concept-wise, don't know why the fuck they shot like that. Say what we will about Zack Snyder or Zack Snyder's Justice League. The way he did Time Force,
that was really
absolutely
cool.
fucking great. Yeah. Use that. Just use it. Just copy and paste it, honestly. But instead, they
used fucking universe, man. Come on.
Yeah. Instead, they use this weird, like, Colosseum thing with balls and horrible, like, weird statuette things. And then, of course, you're just resurrecting, Christopher Reeves and Adam West and who God knows on the entire DC stuff.
The original horrible CGI. Superman, what was his name? The one that Ben Affleck played in that film.
Ah, yes, yeah.
Who took his own life, which was what everybody was a bit kind of controversial about.
Yeah.
And you've got Nicolas Cage coming in for like 20 seconds. Yeah. You've got George Clooney showing up at the end of it. And obviously the worst cameo of all, you got Gal Gadot doing another Wonder Woman appears for 20 seconds and leaves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just a horrible experience. Really, I won't forget how ugly this film is. It's one of the worst looking films I've seen in a very long time.
And again, it's a shame.
It baffles me. Yeah. It baffles me that this is a 55 on Metacritic. I honestly don't understand what some of these critics were saying.
No, there is a weird society or community behind it that will defend these films no matter what.
But these are actually genuinely published critics. That's what I don't understand.
Did you even watch the Barbie movie, dude? Come on, like they even criticize it there. It's a thing. It's a thing.
There's absolutely the whole babies in the falling hospital as well. Just absolute nightmare.
That was cinema. That was cinema.
See, that's what happens when you make bad directing choices and then don't pay your CG artists. You get that.
Anyway, Kyle, are we doing both these together? What's the next one you want to?
He's lined up to direct the Batman Brave and the Bold, Andy Muschietti, isn't he?
Well, that's not happening.
Right. So
what is the next film?
Do you want to?
We'll pair up on this one because they're both.
Yeah, we're going to gear up on these, or we get team up.
Yeah.
Like one of the films, we will team up. Yeah,
hey, they're both ocean-based films.
They are both ocean-based. They involve people that have got strength enough to punch a shark. Yes. Let's start with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which we did do a review in our Lost Christmas episodes, which we might just reuse next year and throw people out of the loop, and they get a random Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom review next year.
Yes.
So the film that ends the 10 years of the DCEU, you get
Aquaman
you get
2.
This Aquaman 2 where, as I said in the review, you take a fantastic villain of Black Manta from the first film and you ruin him, which is a great start.
Yeah, it's great.
Probably the only thing they did well.
They also got their storytelling advice from Ant-Man.
Yeah. The costume I liked, I have to admit, I liked his costume, but everything else was just horrific. The only thing I think Lewis likes about this film is the cheesy Bond villain sets, which I'll admit are
the
quite
costumes.
Fun.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. And look, I like just seeing Patrick Wilson. In all honesty, I want to see Patrick Wilson do a proper awards contender film. Like, seriously, I want to see the guy act. You know, stop this Conjuring or Aquaman shit, Patrick. Stop the Insidious films, for fuck's sake. Come on.
The best thing from this film, me and Liz can agree, is that they did no marketing for it. I mean, there was no premiere, there was no like going to the press.
I literally got like
one
2
TikTok
YouTube
video
ads right before it came out. Yeah.
In fact, there was one TikTok video, which is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, which is Patrick Wilson doing the most ridiculous dance ever. I swear the man did cocaine before he went on set and just went for it. He is off his tits. It's amazing.
No.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, Kyle. I mean, look. The reason Aquaman for me is higher than Ant-Man or Death of the Flash, because I think that's a cynical and disgusting film.
Yeah.
Look, Aquaman is kind of harmless and like.
Yeah.
Harmless is a great way to describe it.
Yeah, look, his heart is kind of in the right place. You know, you've got this, a story very, very loosely about global warming, I guess. Like I said, the Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa stuff, they do have chemistry together, even though the script gives them absolutely nothing. It has, like I said, has that great Bond villain set, and everyone's wearing like silly Saturday morning cartoon goon outfits.
Yeah, classic submarine suits.
I love that shit, and because it's like. But it doesn't reach the heights of the first Aquaman. The first Aquaman is really campy and so over the top.
Yeah,
and the visual effects are stronger in that one as well.
That's the thing. I even enjoyed the first Aquaman because the story is very loose.
The first Aquaman's fun.
I don't even remember what the plot of the first Aquaman is, but I remember the visuals because they really nailed it with like showing you like a bunch of really interesting underwater locations. Like you can be very basic when you do underwater. You could just do blue. Yeah. And they went out of their way for that one, and that's I can appreciate.
Yeah, but this one feels far more disjointed. It's not as fun, and it's just it's kind of just
garbage.
It's really forgettable. It's whatever, and it's crap, kind of. But like if I were to rewatch, Ant-Man, The Flash, or this, I would choose Aquaman 2 every day.
How about you, Kyle?
So there's that.
Do you know what? That's Lewis saying. Lewis came into the cinema with me and went, right, he went, your family's been kidnapped. The kidnappers take you to the cinema and put a gun to your head and say, you have to watch one of these 3 films. He goes, which one are you going to watch? And my initial was, well, can I phone my family and say I'm sorry? But now I genuinely would probably watch Aquaman because I think I do enjoy the campiness. I prefer most of the actors in it.
That's true. There's less.
Well,
actually, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, what I want to say is, look, I know me and Kyle come across some sort of haters on like superhero comic book films, but we're not really. Like, I enjoyed Blue Beetle and of course Guardians 3 and Spider-Man.
You guys got to watch Blue Beetle instead.
I actually like the Marvels, which I'm just gonna say, which I know might put me in the firing range, but we're not against all superhero films.
No,
most of
just the really ones that are proper lazy and ugly and just crap. And that's what those 3 films were. Anyway, but they aren't the worst films of the year. They technically are not the bottom of the barrel worst film of the year, because I think me and Kel share our least favourite spot.
Oh, we do.
And that goes to congratulations. That goes to Meg 2, The Trench. By God. Now, Kel, do you want to describe the scenario in why was I forced to watch this again?
I like shark films. I like anything with big monsters in it. Yeah. Your kaijus. That's a maybe. I have maybes of the Pacific Rim. I love my kaijus, I love my big monsters, and I love shark films. Yeah. I have a special place in my heart for shark films. And I like big stupid shark films, and I thought, we're getting 3 big stupid sharks in this. This is going to be ridiculous. This is going to be Sharknado B level. It's going to be
like Jaws 3.
This is going to be this is going to be shit, but shit on fire.
Yeah.
And I believe I just blackmailed Lewis into it, actually, if I'm right in saying.
I think so.
I don't actually know how I got him to the cinema. I really don't. And
Probably told him the sharks had sex at some point, and he was like, "Okay, maybe."
Oh, wait,
calm down.
Wait until we get onto reviews, by the way, because I'm going to absolutely tear him apart.
All right, okay, Jesus.
Sorry, that's the running joke.
But no, I can't remember what the plot is.
Right, okay.
Can't
Well,
remember
loosely,
who
Jason
were there.
Statham's character. I'm just gonna call him Jason Statham.
His name is Jason.
I couldn't tell you
That's
for
what
£1,000,000 what his character's name was.
Mike.
Jason Statham is some sort of like eco warrior
Yes,
who works
these
for some big
Jonas.
mega rich company. Jonas, thank you. Jonas is a eco warrior who's stopping like eco terrorists across the world from like dumping oil in the ocean and whatever. And then, of course, he's sort of like recruited back to like the company that went into the trench in the first film, because there's some sort of like special minerals down there that are like worth trillions of dollars. And then when they go down there, there's been some sort of sabotage with this underwater base, and they're trapped in the trench. But yeah, Kyle, I mean, look, the first trench film is whatever. Like I can take it or leave it. I've somehow seen that film more than once.
Which is more than me, and I like big sharks.
More than you. But like the first film had a bit more. I don't know. This film just feels This film feels way too serious for what it is. Like it's trying to be so dramatic when characters die, and like not even like in a sort of sarcastic way. Just like trying to be very genuine. The fight scenes suck. Any action scenes with the big shark or the weird dinosaur creatures.
Is there a big
suck.
octopus in this one? I remember a big octopus in this one.
Yes, there was. We didn't really get to see much of it.
The entire fucking final. The whole film is basically just a copy and paste of the last film anyway. Structurally speaking, it's exactly the same film almost. It just isn't funny whatsoever, and that's the most glaring issue. Why is a film where Jason Statham fights 3 giant sharks boring? Yeah. Why is that boring? Yeah, how have you done that? Boring. That is impeccable to me. There's generally just the acting in it from everyone is just terrible. It made me feel. It was one of those experiences when I was watching the cinema where I really like felt sad that I was wasting my existence watching it. That is what it made me feel. So it did make me feel something. It made me feel really utterly devastated and depressed.
I have
so
good
thanks,
news on this front, though. Is that if you didn't know, these films are actually based off books.
What? No.
Yeah. Oh, did you not know this, Gonfalo?
Oh yeah.
Right.
No,
so
I did not. I thought someone said, "What is Jaws?" but more Fast and Furious.
It's called Meg, a novel of deep terror, which was a 1997 science fiction horror, which has spawned many sequels. And just prepare for this, Gonfalo. You have The Trench, Primal Waters, Hell's Aquarium, Origins, Night Stalkers, Generations, and Purgatory. Purgatory is actually to release the novel Meg Purgatory is releasing this year.
What?
So we have a possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
sharks that go to hell.
We have a possible 6 more sequels in the Meg franchise.
See, I would watch a movie about lava sharks that come from hell.
Liz, we have to keep going. If they keep making them,
I can't do any more now.
If they announce that they signed a deal to make 6 more Meg films. You'd have to.
Lewis, I'll go watch the third Meg film, but you gotta watch Gran Turismo for me, just to make sure that I'm not
that's
crazy.
Okay, because I know Gran Turismo 2 isn't happening, so I'll watch a YouTube fan fiction of it. How about that?
Lewis, there's been 7 Gran Turismo games. There could be 7 stories based on 7
But the
games.
first film wasn't profitable, Kyle, anyway.
It just changes from based on a true story to based on a video game.
But did you guys know that the game Gran Turismo is actually really accurate to reality, and you can change a lot of cool things, and if you play that game, you are a cool guy, and you should buy it on PS4 now.
PS5 got to
right, anyway, let's move on from this depressing part of the show. Yes. We have wrapped up our worst films of 2023. Let's do some reviews, Kyle. So, Kyle, why don't you start with Anyone But You?
Yes, Anyone But You. So Anyone But You is the newest romantic comedy of last year, technically, because it did come out in Boxing Day, I want to say. And we follow Sydney Sweeney's B and Ben Powell's Ben. Why they did the exact same name almost, that kind of annoyed me. The basic premise is Ben and B meet on a coffee shop, hit it off, they they have a night together, but kind of miscommunication in the morning makes them think that both of them didn't like each other of something. And lo and behold, 6 months later, it finds out that Ben's best friend is engaged to B's sister. And thus that they're going to all have to go to Australia together for the wedding. And basically, the best way to describe it is B split up with her then fiance, Ben split up with his long-term girlfriend, and they're both there, and they decide, how about we fake a relationship to make our exes jealous to try and get them back. That's the basic premise of this film. What you get is a surprisingly funny film at times. Like, they do actually put a lot of effort into the comedic parts of the film. I actually thought all the characters were quite, comedic, especially all the side characters with, like, B's parents that are, like, just kind of, like, trying to force her ex-fiance onto him. Like, they invite him to this trip in Australia out of nowhere, and everybody's like, why have you done that? I went, well, he's like family, like, you want to get together. And then their daughter who's getting married is going, no, he's not. He's nothing to do with the family. You got the fun Australian side of the other kind of thing. It's all good, and there's fun sets and everything. And I have to say that Glenn Powell, who I've also seen in Set It Up, which I think is the Netflix, it's a Netflix romantic comedy. He's actually really good in romantic comedies. I have to give it to him. He actually is genuinely good. He is really good at humor, especially when he gets kind of this over-exaggeration. Like, if he's like hyper, he really kind of shows the hyper energy. The one thing I have to say I was a bit disappointed, especially after seeing Reality, is Sydney Sweeney is really phoning it in this film.
Oh,
whenever
really?
she's actually trying to act. This is
right.
something that a couple of friends of mine who have also seen this film did comment on, was that she just felt a wee bit flat during most of the scenes. And that is something that is noticeable.
Reality is, like, that's one of my favourite, female performances of 2023. I think she's absolutely phenomenal in that film.
I was actually quite shocked, especially because
maybe she didn't
Glenn
think
Powell,
much of the script.
Well,
Maybe
that's
she was
what
like,
that's what kind of annoys me, is because Glenn Powell really does try and give it his all.
Yeah.
And puts across his comedic front and everything, and and it's all the kind of general tropes of a romantic comedy. There's nothing really special with it there. But was it as bad as I was expecting? No. It was a lovely. That's good. It's a 6 out of 10. It's a fine romantic comedy.
Okay.
Nice.
If you wanted to see it, I would stop you. I wouldn't hold you at gunpoint.
Kyle's going to be at the door. Some random couple's got 2 tickets for anyone but you, and then Kyle just pops up. Nope, you ain't seen that tonight. No.
I unclocked the gun, going, well, you're lucky today.
You would do that if I wanted to put The Holiday on. Come on.
Yes, that's true.
I have to admit, I enjoyed it being a location-based film. Like, they went to Sydney, Australia, and shot it all. And like, I do give appreciation, because anything that is shot on scene,
they could have done green screen. Yeah,
they could have done a green screen, because there's a lot of scenes in that film where you're like, this could have not been in Australia, but they did go to Australia and filmed it all there, and I was like, right, I appreciate that. So there you go. 6 out of 10.
Well, there you go. So anyone but you, 6 out of 10. Well, very good, Kyle. So I guess we'll move on to The Boy and the Heron, which we both now seen, Kyle. So The Boy and the Heron. So 10 years after Hayao Miyazaki has retired from animation,
again,
he is back with his now. He's back again, with his now apparent final film, The Boy and the Heron.
Again. Sorry.
Again, yes. How many times has he retired?
This man has retired, like, I think 3 or 4 times.
Is he not working on his next one? I think he's coming back out of retirement.
Is he coming back?
Mate, there was a whole thing. It was like a week after it was announced, he apparently went, I'm already thinking about my next project.
I admire him a lot. He's an incredible storyteller, an amazing director, an amazing animator. But the man, has no fucking chill and has the worst relationship to like work-life balance that I've ever seen. Like, wow. God.
Well,
damn
he just turned 83 5 days ago, so there you go. Happy belated birthday. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to see what he does next then. So The Boy and the Heron is about a young boy named Matteo, who basically one day wakes up and sees this hospital in Tokyo is on fire, a hospital which holds his mother. Of course, the fire rages on, his mother passes away, and then sort of as time passes, his dad is then soon engaged to his aunt, his mum's sister, just to, it's not dodgy anyway. And from that he moves to the sort of the countryside where she lives, and then when he gets there's a heron who keeps banging on his window, keeps annoying him, and then there seems to be talking to him as well. And then soon he sort of follows the heron to this old part of the house which used to be the library, and then through there he then ends up in an entirely new fantastical dream world. So Kyle, what did you think of The Boy and the Heron?
This film's absolutely bonkers, but I did enjoy it.
Nuts.
It's nuts to the level that I wasn't even expecting from Studio Ghibli. There's a lot of films you can see from Studio Ghibli that do kind of peer into the kind of fantasy aspect. There was we saw the film, but I only point out that Lewis saw it in sub and I saw it in dub. Just to point out that we have seen both versions, just to
in total together,
And I have to admit, Robert Pattinson, my God, I want you in more things. I'm going to just quickly disclaimer for you, Lewis. Florence Pugh actually cared in this one.
In this one, instead of in Puss in Boots.
I just wanted to point that out because I know when we were talking about the dubcast, you were like, "Oh, Florence Pugh." Oh, no.
Well,
let's
be honest.
She actually gave a shit.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If someone before that movie came out had told me, "Hey, you want to act in a Puss in Boots sequel?" I also wouldn't have given much of a fuck.
That's. Do you know what? Fair enough.
I will say this. Back to the Robert Pattinson thing, because obviously I've not seen the dubbed version, but what I've heard from the trailer is that Robert Pattinson sounds exactly like Miyazaki Suda, who plays the Heron in the Japanese version. Like, his voice is spot on.
He does strike me as the kind of person to watch the original and try to imitate the voice.
I need to see him behind the scenes actually making that voice. Physically do not know how that man says, does it. But it's a really fun film in the sense that you just need to think of nothing. Like, you can't don't try and follow it as much because it can make a bit of sense, and there are some parts that I specifically remember they don't address something fairly obvious of Mahito meets. See, this could be an issue where translation occurs, possibly, but Mahito meets a young woman in this kind of world and addresses somebody as her sister, and I'm like, well, that makes her clearly X, but it's not mentioned, it's not then addressed for like another 15-20 minutes, and me and my friend Oren were like, that's such and such. I'm like, well, that's a fairly thing that this character whose mission was to find somebody.
Well, the little girl thing for me was kind of clear who it was.
But it was clear to us. But it was clear to us. It was clear to us as an audience.
No offense,
I thought the character.
Guys,
would
no
react.
offense, but as someone who hasn't seen it, given the setup, I know exactly who you're talking about. You can just go straight up and say it.
I just thought Mahiro didn't react at all for us.
Right.
The way we were watching it, I was kind of like, I thought, because his whole point, I say the whole purpose was, the Heron told him that his mother was in the world, and he had to go find her, but because his mission was to try and find his aunt / new mother, which he then kept calling mother, was really confusing. I kept forgetting who was his aunt and who was his mother at a certain point. But I have to admit, for me, especially seeing the diverse roles of voice actors that I recognised. Mark Hamill does a fantastic job. Christian Bale as the dad. He's a big Studio Ghibli fan. Dave Bautista is fantastic as the Parrot King. I don't know if you knew that, Lewis, that he plays.
I didn't know that was him. No, I didn't know it was him.
Really good. Gemma Chan's in it as well. the dub performances were really effort was put into every single one, and I actually genuinely quite like that because.
Have you seen a lot of like Ghibli dubs? Because this makes me want to actually watch.
I have only ever watched Ghibli dubs. I have to admit.
Okay, there you go.
As I was younger, especially just me being me, I always found reading subtitles like that really hard. I always watched like Spirited
when I was
Away.
older, so yeah.
Yeah, no. You should
well,
watch
I
them.
guess I'll just say I really enjoyed The Boy and the Heron. It just snuck in my top end of year list. I thought, I mean, look, this doesn't even need to be said anymore. Studio Ghibli's animation is astounding,
gorgeous,
lush, vibrant, gorgeous. Just almost every frame could be a painting on your wall. It's genuinely stunning. All the voice performances for the original version, absolutely just, everyone fit the role perfectly, sounded fantastic. It is a film that is like overwhelming with like the imagination thrown at you, and that's what really kind of took it for me. It was like, wow, this is just Alice in Wonderland on steroids sort of thing, just like truly bonkers, imaginative, really creative, fantastic adventure, especially for kids. Like, I'm like, oh, I could just see like like little kids just absolutely just loving this, being absolutely swept away in the sort of madness of it all.
How was the soundtrack, by the way? Because I always love, like, that's always a highlight.
Very delicate, very nice, very epic when it needs to be as well. Obviously, like, it is a lot. Like, at times you're like, wait, whoa, what is this concept? What we're doing now? And there's a guy with a tower of there's a guy with a tower of shapes. What's he doing? Is he playing Jenga? There's a lot of weird stuff going on, but it is like, it seems for me it was manageable, and also I also think it's obviously about you're dealing with grief, and it's also semi based on Hayao Miyazaki's real life as well. Obviously I don't imagine he went to this dream world, but anyway, I assume it's based on the sort of experiences of loss he's had in his life, and that stuff too. I mean, that stuff, especially the ending as well, I thought was very profound and very sweet. And yeah, it's just sort of about that resilience of sort of fighting on, and I thought that was great, and a really good message as well for a kids' film too. So yeah, Kyle, what are you going to give The Boy and the Heron?
I'm gonna give it a 7. I have to admit,
7.
The ending felt mildly abrupt for me.
Oh yeah, I know, because it just kind of the very.
It literally goes like.
Miyazaki films.
it was like, oh, X amount of years pass, we go home.
Yeah.
End. And I was like, oh.
I don't know if he did that for this one, but sometimes Miyazaki, he doesn't plan out a story like you would from the outside in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of writers and storytellers, they will plan out, like, the different events, organize them, see how the structure of the movie's working, kind of, like, edit the story, and then go into the writing. He just grabs a pencil and starts storyboarding.
Fuck. Like, see when you watch that film, because, like Lucy says, it really is Alice in Wonderland on steroids. Yeah. And that level of imagination and storytelling, I do not understand how you do that. I genuinely cannot comprehend how you sit down with a blank bit of paper and you end with that film. It is genuinely incredible on that side.
Yeah.
What about you, Lewis?
I'm going to give
quite outstanding in general. Like, honestly,
I'm slightly above you, Kyle. I'm giving The Boy and the Heron an 8 out of 10. Okay. So there we go, 7 8s, and like I said, just made the cut on got my 23rd spot of 2023. Anyway, now it's time for the big one. Let's talk about Poor Things. So it's directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, who most famously did The Favourite, The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer, and Dogtooth. He's a Greek filmmaker. And so Poor Things opens with a woman standing on top of a bridge, and then soon she just plunges into the water, and then boom, we get the title card, Poor Things. From there we then cut to this the house of Godwin Baxter, who's played by Willem Dafoe, who's a genius, scarred surgeon, who's created this sort of variety of bizarre creatures, stitched the heads of ducks onto dogs, and all weird sort of hybrid creatures sort of things.
Quite deformed.
Living with him, living with him is Bella Baxter, who's played by Emma Stone, who's a fully grown woman who seems to have the behaviours of a child. So to help him observe Bella's evolution, Godwin then hires a surgical student, Max McCandles, who's played by Rami Youssef, who soon develops feelings for Bella. However, Godwin's plans begin to fall away when Bella finds a way to sort of pleasure herself, and the sleazy Duncan Wenderburn, who's played by Mark Ruffalo, whisks Bella away on a journey of self-discovery. So, Kyle, once again, what did you think of Poor Things?
My God, this film is fucking bonkers, and I loved it. Oh,
another bonkers film, great.
Mate, no, this was another level. Every single shot of this film is unique, and the camera lane, every shot's slightly different, or maybe
he
the
loves
lens
his
shot's
fisheye lens,
different.
so he does Yorgos.
Fucking, oh my God, this film is brilliant.
Yeah.
The sound design as well, just everything.
Yes.
And, I genuinely, the more I've been thinking about this film, the more I am loving it. In the sense that every single actor in this film is fantastic. Mark Ruffalo, holy shit. Insane. Willem Dafoe, Emma Stone. Just, I don't want to give too much away. But it's the first time in a while I've seen an 18 and I realise why it's an 18. I'm like, oh my God. And probably, I was about to say one of the funniest films I've seen this year. I've seen two. I imagine it will be one of the funniest films I've seen for the entire year. I don't see a film.
Well, you can say the Academy year, because up until the Oscars.
Yeah, no, that's true. It will be in the Academy. I think this is probably one of the funniest films I've seen.
Absolutely.
I don't want to say too much, but my God, did I love this film.
Yeah, great. Kind of like you, when we came out of it, I was like, that was really good and really, really funny, very oddball, weird, bizarre humour as well. And me and Kyle were talking about the language of the film. It's very old-fashioned, very polite, set during in the Victorian period, but then just out of nowhere, someone will just abruptly cut to modern tongue and just swear and call someone an F word or a C word or whatever. I know I don't know why I'm blurring myself now. I've said F whatever during this episode. But yeah, I mean, look, I want to start off with Emma Stone. I think this is this her best? This probably is her best performance, I think.
There's so much physical acting there as well.
There's so much physical performance to it as well. And the thing that got me is that this is a really, really easy performance to go over the top with. It could so easily go really south really fast. Because, having just a woman play a child sort of thing, very easily you can bet that's over the top. That's over the top, and you just don't jive with it. She plays it perfectly. And her growth of her character as well is very, very natural paced, really well across the film. I thought she was absolutely magnificent. I was really taken aback by Emma Stone's performance, and no wonder she's in contention to win her second Oscar for this, because I think she's absolutely fabulous. Along with that, Willem Dafoe as well, who plays Godwin, or God as she calls him, as well. It's strange. He's sort of doing his sort of lighthouse accent. It at times falls into Irish, at times even Scottish, and at times even falls into Welsh. Very weird sort of accent that's constantly kind of moving about, but really fits the type of character he is. Has a very sweet role, but very twisted at the same time. Sort of a very sad backstory to him as well. And yeah, every other supporting performance as well. I mean, Mark Ruffalo here is so funny as this absolutely devious bastard. Genuinely, the whole scene, his mannerisms, there's a scene that I think you even see the trailer where he sort of he just turns his head away, and it's so dramatic, melodramatic. And the whole bit, I mean, his line delivery on certain things are absolutely perfect. There's a scene where him and Emma Stone are in a bed.
You, but you didn't have to be.
I know I kidnapped you, but it's so funny. It's so funny. And then the scene where he does the Stanley thing from A Streetcar Named Desire, which usually shouldn't really be that funny because that's a film that came out. Well, the play and the film came out in the 50s, but the delivery of it's so good. He's so good here, and once again, easily a performance that could go way too over the top and not be funny at all. But Mark Ruffalo delivers that really well.
I have to say, there's an underlining, especially after you watch it and you reevaluate what you watch. There is an underlining
it's
creepiness to this film.
You've a lot of creepiness to it,
especially the earlier film, especially with Mark Ruffalo's character. When you realise what he was attracted to Bella about, you realise that is quite dark.
It's really, really twisted, and that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, the whole beginning, especially the first half, you do like, you are like, wait, this is truly messed up. This is twisted. This is perverse, especially with Mark Ruffalo's character, and even to be fair, same with Rami Youssef's McCandlell's character as well. Like,
oh yeah,
what he's kind of agreeing, he agrees to something, to be fair, to happen later on, but even still, it's pretty twisted, and they sort of analyse why that is as well. Like Willem Dafoe's character is sort of deducting how attraction and love works. But this is the thing, I mean, Yorgos Lanthimos, once again, like the whole film, there's this dealing with this sort of power dynamics and who controls who. There's the whole idea of control going on here, especially with men over Bella. And this is something, I mean, this goes back to Dogtooth, which is also a very twisted film, all about control and sort of perversion of like your children and whatnot. And same with The Favourite, he did with Emma Stone as well. That was a constant changing in power dynamics between the three leads in that film, and he clearly has an obsession with that sort of theme, and it's going on again here. But yeah, it's that sort of thing, and I find the title really interesting as well, because it's like, who are the poor things here? I mean, there's like,
that's a very good point.
All these alienated, and like, so I mean, there's this other character who's kind of like philosopher, spurs on about philosophy, and he kind of goes on about how humanity and everyone is cruel, selfish creatures, and it's sort of like, you're sort of seeing like all the victims of all this cruelty in Bella or in Godwin, and all the other like sex workers later on as well. And yeah, I mean, look, I'll just quickly rattle this stuff off as well. I think the score is really strange and really memorable. I really enjoyed the score. It's up there with some of the best of the year. Really expect that to be nominated as well. I think that's a fantastic piece of music. The sets, Kyle, the sets and the costumes, absolutely brilliant.
It's such a weird, like, Victorian-y time it's set in, and the backdrops, but
steampunky,
it's a wee bit,
and then also dreamy. Yeah, and
dreamy,
kind of future.
They do a great.
From the trailers, it kind of reminds me of the Time Bandits.
Yeah,
right?
Okay, yeah, with the sky and stuff like that. Yeah.
See, Lewis, between when they do like the chapters, there's kind of like a chapter-esque thing, or like location based, where they bring up these like location title cards. It's some fucking bizarre dream. Emma Stone maybe was walking on eyeballs on like when it says like a location, and you're like, what is this? And
yeah. But yeah, I mean, also just like I thought the film was also just really, really progressive in a weird way. Like, it reminded me, because I say that very few times about films. I mean, there's it's the arts, and people are very left wing and liberal, and very, very sort of like,
but very few films step outside what's like the expected kind of like central liberal kind of like perspective.
Yeah, true. I mean, like, I always go back to like the Rocky Horror Picture Show when I talk about really progressive films. That is insanely progressive for its time, for like 50 years old.
Makes
now.
Us feel
that actually genuinely boggles my mind how that film like had that sort of headspace, really ingenious work. But this too as well, about just sort of, I mean, it's a really good analysis on, like, much like Barbie, except I think this one. This one makes you think
of capitalism around.
Yeah, this one doesn't have the constraints. So this is purely, it doesn't have a Mattel looming over it. This can go balls to the wall.
Yeah.
And it is more successful because of it. I mean, the way it really analyzes the sort of fragility of men and ego as well, when it comes to sort of the sexuality of Bella. I mean, sex is like a huge part of this film. It's all about sex and sexual freedom.
There's a lot of sex.
Yeah. And when you get towards the latter part of the thing, when it gets to sort of like, I don't want to spoil it, but it has a very sort of progressive edge to it, and sort of how you should sort of perceive, like, other people's sex life shouldn't have any effect on your ego whatsoever. But of course, the sort of Mark Ruffalo character can't accept that sort of thing. I found that really interesting. But yeah, I thought it was great. Kyle, what are you giving Poor Things?
Do you know what? I said a certain score yesterday, but I'm going to bump it up one, because the more I thought about this film, the more I love it. The line delivery, the characters, just the kind of fantasy aspect of the story. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I genuinely really love this film. I think it's a fantastic way. It's my first film of 2024.
Can't wait to start the year.
I genuinely think it is now. It's the one to beat. Yeah, 9 out of 10. What about you?
Yeah, Kel, me too. 9 out of 10. It's astute, it's progressive, it's dark, it's filled with fantastic performances, really funny, brilliant line delivery. Everyone's great in it. Brilliant production, brilliant score. Like, I have very few problems with it. Maybe the pace in the first act is a bit slow.
I can maybe give you that. Yeah, the pace is maybe a bit.
But I don't know if that's because I was trying to figure out
what was happening,
what Yorgos was going for, or kind of what we're kind of getting into.
I've noticed that sometimes when you're trying to like grasp at an idea and trying to understand something, the film goes a lot slower than when you just let it happen and let it sweep you, kind of thing. So
so that probably that in itself is a rewatch worthy point for me to go through. But yeah, it's a very strong 9 out of 10.
Wow.
It's a great awards contender, I think.
Guys.
Very strong.
Yeah.
It's really.
It's only going to go downhill.
I think you'd love it. I think you'd absolutely love it. Gonzalo.
I'm looking forward to it.
A great piece of work.
You need to see this. I know we said about Oppenheimer, but you need to see this.
This felt like my kind of movie from watching the trailer and having enjoyed like the weirdness and over the topness of like everything ever all at once. This feels like my alley of like weird.
And yeah, I think for me, I think it's Yorgos's best film he's made. Like, I mean, Dogtooth is really twisted and messed up, and Dogtooth is a very strong film. The Favourite for me, I don't know, it's been years since I've seen it. I had problems with The Favourite, but this to me is like his magnum opus. I think he did a fantastic job here. But that will wrap up today's show. So thank you very much, Gonzalo, for joining me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, and we ended on a positive note, so it's all good.
Yes. And thank you, Kyle, as well.
Welcome. Yeah, positive note. Hopefully, keep it fun.
So on next week's episode, because it's the beginning of the year still, we're going to be looking ahead at what is coming out in 2024, and we're going to look at what we think will be our most anticipated films of 2024. But look, we just give our opinion on Poor Things, The Boy and the Heron, Anyone But You, plus all those goddamn awful movies. But at the end of the day, those were our unwanted opinions. Thank you very much.